Welcome to BlackUSA.news morning show. I'm your host, William Honolulu Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real. Greetings and salutations, all my friends out there in internet land. Yo, I'm telling y'all what, it is an exciting day today. We are going to have some good times. Greetings and salutations, all of my friends out there in internet land. I am William Honolulu Jr., and I have the privilege and the honor of serving as the host of the BlackUSA.news morning show. Today is April 6, 2022. And as we continue with National Public Health Week and National Student Employment Week, remember two different things. Take care of yourself. Make sure that you do what's right for your health. Make sure you do what's right and do what you can to protect the health of other people. And let's find some of these students some jobs, because that's important. They're out here doing the best that they can. They're really on the grind and stuff like that. So let's just go ahead and help them out by getting them a job whenever we can. By the way, if you are a student who's looking for a job, Coppin Academy is actually hiring for tutors, and you are welcome to apply. So I'm just getting some of the stuff together here. You know how we do. As always, big shout out. Oops, sorry, that's a little background thing going on right now. Let me go ahead and put that up. So big shout out to the super producer Kyle Crazy Horse Morgan and our assistant producer Brandy Raymar. They're really just holding everything down. We are having an incredible time doing some really good work. And being a part of the BlackUSA.news network has also been phenomenal. I get an opportunity to work with some of the greatest people in entertainment and media, and it's just amazing, dude. I tell you all, I have a wonderful life. You know those times where you're like, dag, how did this happen? How did that happen? I don't do that anymore because my stuff is pretty wonderful. And let me talk a little bit about the people who make this wonderful stuff possible. Yes, our sponsors, Edible Arrangements, for example, they do a phenomenal, I can't even tell you how great a job they do with making sure that people have wonderful fruit, that they have incredible candy that goes with it. Like, they are phenomenal. I am so happy every time that I get a taste. And this is what it looks like when it comes. It even comes DoorDashed and everything. That is incredible. If you find yourself in a situation where you are having challenges with law enforcement, that's a really big deal. A lot of people in our communities find themselves on the wrong end of law enforcement on a regular basis, or not necessarily just themselves on a regular basis, but black people in general. We find ourselves on the wrong side of law enforcement, unfortunately, a lot more frequently than we should. And I'm sorry, well, not just law enforcement, but government. And so if you have a problem with government, if you have a civil issue, a civil altercation, or what have you, make sure you call Murphy, Falcone, and Murphy, because they've been doing this since my adult life. Like, Judge Murphy has been fighting for the rights of Black people and to protect us for 30 years. And so if you have a situation, make sure you reach out to Murphy, Falcone, and Murphy. They can absolutely help you. And if they can't, they can refer you to somebody who can. A warrior lawyer, this is when you have criminal situations. The warrior lawyer gets in there and fights for you. They don't just call him the warrior lawyer because it sounds cool, because, I mean, it does. But one of the reasons that they call him the warrior lawyer is because he goes out and fights for his clients. And not only does he fight, he wins. And so if you find yourself in a criminal situation and you need some help and support to get out, make sure that you hit up the warrior lawyer, J. Wendell Gordon. We are incredibly proud of our partnership with STEM City USA. STEM City USA is always been at Career Communications with Dr. Tyrone Taborn. They have always been an amazing advocate in helping Black people really scale up and get access to cutting edge technology. They've been hosting the Black Engineer of the Year Awards for years, and now they have created this portal for Black people to get into the metaverse. And it is an amazing portal. So if you get an opportunity, make sure you swing by and check out STEM City USA. Donnie Glover is also a sponsor, and his book, I Am Black Wall Street, is an amazing piece of scholarship that doesn't just look at how Black Wall Street was destroyed or what happened to it or even what it was. He changes the game a little bit and focuses in on what did it take to get the Black people to Greenwood, Oklahoma. So he digs into that, deeply into that, and it provides a really interesting take on a story that we were all familiar with. My company, The Grinding Gang, we want to help you take your business to the next level. And so the way that we do that is we offer you free membership and we give you information in our knowledge library. We have workshops and things like that we have monthly, just making sure that you have what you need to be successful, because it's hard out here to do business. It really, really is. A lot of times we don't know what to do with what information, how things make sense. And at the Grinding Gang, we help you figure that out. And if you want to celebrate with the Grinding Gang, you can always host a dinner, get together, whatever, at Darker Than Blue Grill. Darker Than Blue Grill, located at 413 North Charles Street, is an amazing place with phenomenal food and an incredible wait staff. Like, yeah, I can't wait to go back and get some more of that. You know what I'm saying? Because my inner fat boy ain't so inner, so y'all can tell I likes to eat. And when you find a good place that has good food, you kind of go with it. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Well, not different. I mean, because no, we're a variety show. We do a variety of things. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about business partnerships. Let me pull this up. Okay. The reason that we're going to talk about this today is that in my business consulting practice, I've had a lot of people recently in the last year or so really start talking to me about taking on partners and getting investors and things like that. And a lot of them are doing it in non-traditional routes. So not looking at like a venture capitalist or doing business with taking a loan out from a bank or whatever. A lot of it has to do with one-on-one conversations and one-on-one communications with people that they know. When you're working with the institution, you still have to be on guard, but most of that is that you are not taken advantage of by the power dynamic. But when you're doing business with somebody or a peer, you have another thing that you might be impacting that you don't even know. That might just be that they don't know what they're doing either. You all are trying to put together a business or trying to put together an operations, and everybody's just doing the best they can. So what I figured that we do is to talk a little bit today about getting a business partner or an investor and what does that look like? Not necessarily the recruitment part of it, but once you find somebody, like what are the things that you need to take into consideration? Because a lot of times getting a partner sounds good, but sometimes it comes with its own stuff. All right. So when we're talking about partnership, we're talking about exchanging resources in exchange for operational, financial, or some other benefit. Because partnerships can take on any kind of flavor, any kind of feel that you want them to, or that they can. But the biggest thing is understanding what type of partnership do you have, or what type of partnership are you looking for. One of the groups that are considered partners under this exchange of benefit, clearly investors and lenders, and we're going to talk a lot about those types of people in this conversation, but also volunteers. Volunteers are exchanging their time for some kind of feel good, some type of benefit, some type of network, but that's still a partnership, and you should think about it that way. Employees and suppliers as well. A lot of times when we think about partnerships, we think about the people that we're trying to get money from or the people who are investing in our business. But all of these interactions with stakeholders are partnerships, and they should be treated as such. You all know that. Well, for those of you who are watching live, if you have any questions, you could just drop them in the chat, and we'll answer them along the way. All right. So for the purposes of this, we're going to be talking about investors and lenders. When you think about your resources, these are some of the resources that I believe you should really be focused on. One of the first ones is time. All of business happens within a particular time frame, and time makes a difference. The more time that you have to think through your business plan, the more time you have to reflect and do research, the more likely it is that you'll be better prepared as the time comes for execution. So taking into consideration your time becomes very important. If let's say you're in the idea stage now, and you don't plan on launching for a while, well, start working like it is to a while now, because that time, using that time wisely, means that when it is that you need to start, or when that actual time comes, you'll be better prepared, and that is a really big deal. Um, big shout out to Jan Walker Abedego, I think. I always mess up her name. I love Jan so much, but I always mess up her name. She introduced me to the concept of a bail team. When she first said bail team to me, I was like, what you know? What you done heard? Because I resolved that. And she was like, no. Bail stands for banker, accountant, insurance agent, and lawyer. If you are thinking about taking on an investor or getting some type of debt financing or taking on a partner, you need to make sure that you spend time with your bail team. And as you're talking to your bail team, I'm not necessarily talking about I guess I'm talking about what we've been kind of covering over the course of the show, is that developing these authentic relationships with them. Not just like, hey, I'm trying to get a loan today, so blah blah blah. Hey, my taxes are due next month. Can I talk to you? But really seeing what it takes for your bail team members, the banker, accountant, insurance agent, and lawyer, to have a conversation with you and figure out how do you all develop the relationship. Let them know that be honest. Like, let them know that maybe you're not ready now, but you will be ready in the future, and you want to know, what should you be bringing to the table? How should you be preparing? What are some of the things that you are thinking about? Because for each member of your bail team, they want you to get it right the first time. I would much rather, when I practice law, I would much rather you call me in the beginning of a business deal to talk about the contract than it is, hey, oh, look at Shonda. See, you got good fans for your show, because I know she a whole teacher right now. She got her probably on her earbuds and stuff, like, hey, y'all learn math. I'm listening to figure out what I can do with my business. That's what happens when you got good fans. That's what. Sorry, I get emotional sometimes when I know that I'm heard about. But your bail team is incredibly important, because you want to figure out, how do you establish relationships with them, because every lawyer ain't the same, every accountant, every insurance agent, every banker. Some of them are really looking for developing authentic relationships with their customers. Some are just really trying to get to the transaction. And part of your job is to figure out who is who. Part of your job is to develop authentic relationships with some of these people, so that you can have somebody you can run and talk to from time to time, somebody who understands what you're doing. It is important to develop the relationships, and then not just doing transactions. And so, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about what does it take to develop relationships later. So let's see. Oh, clearly, government agencies. Yeah, government agencies are also very important, because some of the deals that you're trying to do will need government regulation or government oversight. So, for example, if you are doing something that requires a license, you want to buy a restaurant. Well, government agencies, the health department at the state and federal level, state and local level, they may be involved. Let's say you're doing a logistics company. Well, the licensing may have to be in one person's name or another. There are a lot of things to take into consideration. And the government agencies, again, well, sometimes they don't necessarily have the most helpful staff, but that goes across a lot of different industries and a lot of different institutions. But they also want you to get it right. Sometimes their staff isn't great, but you got to work through that. They want you to get it right. They want to make sure that you have the resources, so your licensing goes through, so that, boom, things happen. So getting in touch with government agencies, and a lot of them have resources that are available for licensing, whether it is getting a license for a particular business venture, like an assisted living home or a psychiatric rehabilitation program, or if it's really just about understanding what taxes you pay. Call the comptroller's office. They have an entire helpline and people who are waiting to talk to you. Call these people and just get greater information, because your biggest asset to the business is your decision making. If you don't have enough information, how can you make good decisions? You see that? You see that? See that? That's incredible. Making sure that your needs are clearly defined. Sometimes when people go looking for investors or looking for lenders or looking for financing or looking for partners or whatever, they're going because they want to feel better. Like they feel overwhelmed and they're looking for somebody to share the burden. One gentleman, he told me that he was looking for an investor or a lender, and he needed $40,000 for marketing. And I said to him, I was like, okay, if I gave you $40,000 right now, I call up one of my financier contacts, and they're like, yo, we can have you $40,000 by Monday, and this was a Friday. I said, what will you spend it on? What is the first thing you're going to do on Monday? He said, well, the first thing I do is I look up to find out what social media companies I can use. I said, that is the problem. The fact that you are waiting until you get the money to figure out what you're going to do with the money. You know you have marketing needs, but he hadn't done enough to really understand what those needs were. He just pulled the number $40,000 out of his ass. And so what happens is when you do that, people who have been in business, people who work with businesses on a regular basis, they know that you just made that number up. They know. They're not even trying to take into consideration that $40,000 is like, what do you need it for? And when you can't explain it, or when you say real high level stuff, I'm going to leverage it so that I can get more effective marketing and blah, blah, blah. Again, sounds cute, but people who know what you're talking about are like, oh yeah, no, he's just making that stuff up. So making sure that you have defined needs. If you are doing something that frees up your time, talk about what you're going to do with that time so that you can make money. Or if this is a loan or you're looking for a partner to really help your mental health and to give you some more time, because time is the most valuable resource. Explain what you will do with that time. If you have one client who is bringing on a staff member, and she's getting that staff, at least half that staff member salary is being financed. So one of the things that she and I talked about was that when you have that staff member, what you should probably do, what would make a lot of sense, would be to figure out if they are taking things off your plate. Make sure you factor in the fact that you still have to spend time supervising them, because a lot of people, they think that, okay, I have somebody, it normally takes me 15 hours to do this. I brought in a whole new person, so I get all of that 15 hours back. No, you still have to spend a portion of that time supervising this new person. But when you're supervising them, making sure you understand what you need them to do, why you need them to do it, and how it will benefit the rest of the business. Those are the types of clearly defined needs that will help you in this process of bringing on a partner, so you find somebody that fits. In addition to the gentleman I told you who was looking for the 40,000, in addition to just getting 40,000, he probably should have tried to find somebody with 40,000 and some marketing expertise to use it, because he didn't know what he was doing when it came to marketing. He was phenomenal. Like, when I tell you this dude was amazing at the things he did, he was amazing, but marketing wasn't one of the things he did. And so sometimes you need to understand that the partnership may not just be cash. Sometimes partnership is expertise that can offset some of your deficiencies, but we'll talk about that later. So once you have your needs clearly defined, make sure that you have plans for execution, because it sounds good. And a lot of times what entrepreneurs come to the table with is an idea. Well, an idea doesn't really mean much. It really is the execution of that idea that is phenomenal. So for example, I had an idea about advocating for minimum wage workers who were in institutions where they didn't get their 15-minute break. I was working on that, and it seemed like it was going to go well, and I was preparing to do the marketing and things like that. But guess what happened? In my market, somebody else launched first, and they launched really well, and it was phenomenal. And they absorbed the market. For me to get in it at that point would have meant that I would have needed resources that I didn't have. But I waited. I waited on the practical plan of execution. So I had a great idea. Somebody else had the same idea. How fast do you execute it? How well do you execute it? Those are the things that make the difference. And I'm an amazing business person. Well, amazing business coach and counselor, but that's the execution. That's one of the places I struggle with, is once you have all the plans, because for me, I'm a planner. So I'll come and do details and all the little stuff, but then I miss the opportunity to execute. And I don't want that for you. And I want you to do better than me. A business broker can also be helpful if you are unfamiliar with the territory, and you can find a business broker that you can work with and trust. What a business broker is just what it sounds like. It's a person who is the middleman between people who want to sell a business and people who want to buy a business. There's a lot of really good business brokers. There are a lot of really good business brokers out there, but you need to make sure that you do some of your own due diligence in finding a business broker and recognizing who they actually work for. Because sometimes they work for the seller, sometimes they work for the buyer, sometimes they're just a middleman. So making sure that you know whose side they're on, so you can adjust yourself, manage yourself accordingly. All right. It's important that you understand the business ecosystem, because for both people entering the partnership, or both organizations, because while something may be going on really well right now, anything that changes the business ecosystem can mess it up. And if you don't understand how the business itself operates, how the business gets clients and keeps clients, how the business gets money and spends money, and how the business relates to all of its other competitors, the customers in the marketplace, you are increasing the amount of risk. When you don't understand how all of those things work, you don't know how to influence those things. You don't know if there is a way for you to control them. So you end up in a situation where things are just happening to you. And that's not very comfortable. And it doesn't give you a lot of opportunity to plan for what you need to be successful. So your understanding of the business ecosystem will also be one of the resources that that you can rely on. And the grinding game, my company. This is one of the things that we do. We help people think through these things, because this is hard. If you don't understand what you're doing, it becomes really confusing, and you can make mistakes that, real talk, you may not be able to come back from. That's a real issue. And so at the grinding game, we help you think through those things so that you don't have to be in it all alone. All right. Factors that you need to take into consideration. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I have been doing something different, and I have not been honoring it. Big shout out to BlackUSA.news, the parent station, our parent network. So just making sure that they get represented, that we get represented well. Also highlighting a lot of our sponsors and partners, along with, you see what I'm saying, along with the slides. So big up to Murphy, Falcone, and Murphy. And personal, near and dear to my heart, big up to Fosterpreneur, where working with Erica Myers, I've actually been able to develop and perfect a lot of the stuff I'm talking to you all about today. All right, factors that you need to take into consideration: your financial needs. Well, not just your financial needs, the financial needs of your organization and your business, but also whoever the partner is going to be. What are their financial needs? Like, do they have needs for things to be at certain interest rates, certain time frames? How much can they put into the business? How soon are they going to need it back? Those are the things that are going to be very, very important, because remember, most of the time they're getting involved in this because they want to make some money. And if you can explain to them how to make money, they may not want to be in business with you. So clearly understanding what your financial needs are, and their financial needs as well, will put you in a better position to make the partnership work. Your social emotional needs, both of your social emotional needs. Some of my clients that have been coming and talking to me about opportunities to partner and do business with people have been talking about doing business with family members. Okay. I have a complicated family history. But what I will say is, make sure that you take social emotional needs into consideration when you start identifying partners. There are certain things that we think about, like, oh, so for example, I don't know if I told you all this story. My mother is a phenomenal cook, especially when it comes to baking. She's incredible. And I'm good at business. And so what we did is that we started a catering company together. It's back in the 90s. So we started a catering company together. Things were actually going pretty well. And one of our clients was the Delta Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Big up A Phi, hey Phi. And they were one of our clients, and we used to do their monthly repast for the meetings. And she loved the bras. My mother's always loved the bras. And so there was this one time she was like, you know what? Let's give them an extra like extra pan or something, because I had some extra and I wanted to give it to them. Cool. And I was like, I mean, all right, cool. That's nice. The next month she was like, hey, let's give them a little extra. I said, whoa. Like, I love these are my brothers, but we can't just keep giving stuff away. She was like, well, no, because it's business. I mean, because it's good customer service. And she was saying these things. And I was like, yeah, but it cuts into our bottom line. Because I know her. I knew that making people happy and stuff like that was a really big deal to her. And I know that she would give away the entire business just to see people smile. And so we had to have a conversation. I gotta be honest, it was rough. That's Mama Honolulu. That's Mama Honolulu. How you gonna tell Mama Honolulu no? And I was like, this is, but I said, one of the things that you don't want to do is to create an expectation. So while we know that this is a gift now, and this exceeds what they paid for, if we keep doing it and every month there's an extra pan, let's say we're supposed to be doing 4, we do 5. Well, guess what? 5 is now going to become the standard. And when we go back to 4, now they're going to feel like we took something from them. And so making sure and that was rough for me. And so she was like, well, and she kept going back. And I said, well, let's do this. If you want to do that, that's fine. But what will happen is that we'll take this out of your portion of the profits, even at cost. Wouldn't even charge you market rate for what we charge them for this pan, just at cost. All of a sudden, she started thinking about it differently, because that put more concrete terms on what the transaction was going to be and what the value was going to be, and really looking at it in terms of dollars and cents. But if I didn't understand my mother's social emotional needs, how feeding people makes her happy, we would have had a totally different conversation, and I may have approached it differently, because it wouldn't have made sense to me. So making sure you understand the social emotional needs of everybody who's involved, because a lot of decisions are made based on social emotional conditions. What is it going to look like when we put it out? How is it going to feel? Oh, I don't want to feel overwhelmed. I don't want to feel tired. All of those are valid decision-making factors. But let's not pretend that those are logical. Those are feelings, and it's okay. Making sure you know what assets you have and what assets are, because by and large, this is going to be an exchange asset to asset, but being clear about what those assets are and how much they're worth. If you don't know how much you have is worth, you don't know what you're selling it for. You could be selling it for an incredible discount, or you could be selling it for an incredible premium. But if you don't know, you don't know. And I have people who they're very uncomfortable with valuation and trying to make these types of decisions. So what they end up doing is that they end up just making up numbers. Had one young lady tell me that her company was worth $1 billion. I mean, $1 million. It's like, well, how much revenue have you had? Well, we haven't really had revenue yet. So why is your company worth $1 million? Well, I feel that it has that potential. Well, that's a good story in your head. And again, not saying that you're wrong, but if I can't understand how you calculate that value, then that's not the same value that I'm going to think is worth. So making sure that you understand what the assets are, and also understand the same way with your liabilities. Because in some partnerships, partners want all the assets, but none of the liabilities. And there's some ways that you can make that happen along the transfer or the partnership, but you need to make sure you know what those liabilities are. A lot of times people may forget to tell, they don't brag about the things that are going wrong. So if they have a lawsuit, they may forget to tell you. If they have some insurance problems or cash flow problems, they're excited about the future of the business, so they may forget to tell you about what's actually going on now. Let's see. This one is sponsored by our good friend Donnie Glover. I Am Black Wall Street. His book. Go ahead and cop that whenever you get a chance. One of the benefits. Well, here are some of the benefits of partnership. It helps for a quicker expansion. A lot of times, when we have a new business idea or a way to expand our business, we may not have the resources that we need up front. We may not have the time we need up front. We may not have the human capital we need up front. And so when we have these opportunities for expansion, sometimes finding people who want to invest in our business means that we can expand quicker. Sometimes investors or partners increase stability. I know, for example, when my kids were little, doing business could be challenging, because if I didn't have childcare for them, how was I supposed to be doing business? And so having actually one of the project partners I had when my kids were little, she loved my kids. And part of the work that we would do is that She would work on the raw part that she needed, and then I would bring my youngest son over there. She loved him to death. And when my oldest son would have other things to do, and bring him over there, she'd watch and play with him while I did the work. That was a great partnership. Now, we both contributed intellectual property to the project, but some of that, just watching my son and knew that he was not just in a good place, but a good place that I could be around him, that he had somebody that I knew cared about him, that he was safe. That meant a lot to me. And that made that partnership even more valuable. Sometimes the partnership is designed to offset deficiencies. I know I have a few clients who money management is not their strong suit. They money makes them terrified. But what they do is that they partner with people who have those skill sets. I have another client that is phenomenal at painting, but his marketing skills have a lot to be desired. And so making sure that if you can identify some deficiencies that you have, that you identify partners who can offset those deficiencies. If you don't have a lot of time, well, then you may want to find a partner who has a lot of time or the money to buy some more time. So those are some of the things to think about with the deficiencies. One of the other benefits of bringing somebody on to your company, or bringing in a partner, is that you really do have an opportunity to reduce your risk. When it's just you, all the risk is yours. So even some risk that, we think a lot of times about the financial risk, but think about the showing up risk, time risk. I had a meeting a few Sundays ago, and I'm on my way. I had more than enough time to get there. Guess what happens? On the way, my tire blows out, like blows out on the highway. I'm able to get off, get to a gas station. Can't make it to the meeting. So reschedule for the next day. Oh, guess what? The place that I was getting my tire changed, they needed to order it, blah, blah, blah. So I missed that meeting a second time. If I had a partner who had some flexibility, or hell, who just had another car, that might have been something different. I wouldn't have had to get a lift all the way over there, spending like 40, $50. But I didn't. So that was a cost that I had to pay because I did not have those I mean, the risk of my car not working happened, and I didn't have anybody to offset that risk. So that's one of the ways that one of the benefits of having a partner is that it also helps reduce risk. Access to capital and access to non-capital resources, those are pretty obvious. Big shout out to wait. Oh yeah, I am Black Wall Street. So yeah, let's go talk about the challenges. Big up to STEM City USA, Dr. Tyrone Taborn and his crew, making sure that big stuff happens all the way around. Some of the challenges when you bring on a partner, one of the biggest ones that I've seen is the merging of your ideas and your vision. Sometimes with partners, they see your business, or they see the opportunity, or you may see a business that you want to partner with, and you see it from a very particular lens. You see it from the benefits that you can derive from it. But there may be an entirely different perspective and a mission that either you or the owner of the business have that may not be really compatible. So, for example, one of the challenges that I have when I look for partners is that I am really community oriented. And while money is important and I need it to survive, most of my decisions are not based on money. So, for partners who are very interested in returns on investment and high returns on investment, that's going to be a problem for them, because and I've done this before where one of my partners or an organization that I'm partnered with or that I'm working for, they choose to focus more on money than working with disinvested communities. That's not where I want to be, at least in that time in my career. That's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to make sure that the work that I was doing was helping people. That's where I was focused. And so their direction and my direction didn't work, and we went our separate ways. They're no longer a client, and a lot of it is because they wanted what I wasn't willing to provide, because their vision and mission was about getting more money. Mine was about using their platform to really help disinvested communities. They were absolutely right for what they should do because it's their organization, but it just didn't work for me. Allocating resources. Sometimes because of the differences in vision and mission, or the differences in priority, there are different assumptions about what information should be given when. what resources should go to who should get what, when they should get in, those types of things. And really working out those conversations becomes also very, very helpful. Changes in your partner's environment. Sometimes when you start a business, things are one way and you think that that's the way they're going to be. It's going to be fine. Like, I mean, hell, I had one client who was starting a restaurant and was going to go to closing just after COVID started. If he had gone to closing before COVID started, he would have been stuck with a brand new restaurant and nobody to show up in it. And so changes in the business ecosystem and changes in his environment changed the entire opportunity for him to purchase the property, because COVID hit and everything shut down. Wait a minute, why am I going to open up a restaurant that people need to go to if everything shut down? They delayed it for a few weeks, but then ultimately ended up not doing it because, well, you all remember how COVID went into 2020. So that's a very real thing. Unarticulated expectations are a really big deal. There are a lot of times people say, oh, we're in this 50-50. What does 50-50 mean? And most people like 50-50 just mean half on everything, except half of what? Does that mean you put in 50% of the money, or you put in all the money and I do all of the work? Is that the 50-50 we're talking about? One of the things that a lot of small businesses run into when it comes to about expectations is, how do you value the amount of money that somebody else may be putting in? How do you value that? So for example, let's say I want to do business with you and I got a stack of cash. 50 grand is what we need to get started. I got the 50 grand, but I don't want to do no work whatsoever. But once I get the 50 grand, you're going to have to put in about 70, 80 hours a week. And you're going, and in about a year or two, everything's going to blow up. And I want 60%. Well, you're like, hell no, if I'm going to do all the work for a year or two and forever, then you shouldn't get that. But I'm like, but you don't get any money without mine. And that's the kind of thing about, what are the expectations? What does 50-50 mean? What is what does, if I have 60%, does that mean I make 60% of the decisions? Does that mean I have controlling decisions? Or does that just mean that when it's time for payout, I get 60% of the profit? Because again, we go 50-50, or I get 60, or whatever it is. Those need to be clearly defined. And that's where it also comes back to your bail team. Those are the people who are going to help you figure out how to do a lot of this and make it work. Let's see, what else? Unarticulated expectations, and also unclear roles and responsibilities. There are a lot of times we gravitate toward titles like, CEO, CMO, CFO, analyst, marketing coordinator, and all of these things. But what does that actually really mean? What do you do? Like, when the business opens in the morning, what do you do? When somebody has a phone call, what do you do? Making sure that people understand what they actually do, not just the name, their titles, because that's for everybody else. The name of something just helps other people understand what it is. You still have to be true. You still have to make sure that your role is true and it makes sense, that your responsibilities make sense. Because otherwise, especially with a partner, if you have unclear roles and responsibilities, you'll be waiting for, like, who, I remember this one. Well, who is responsible for filing the, every year in Maryland, you have to file the thing for your LLC. It's a form for the government. It's slipping me right now what it's called, but you have to fill this out every year. And with one of my clients, I annually, for many of them, I do like an assessment, risk assessment or whatever. And I was doing a risk assessment for them, and it was like, well, you're not in good standing. I'm like, well, what the hell happened? It was like, well, nobody filed the financial reporting for the personal property tax filing. That's what it's called. The personal property tax filing for the state of Maryland. And they were like, and they both looked at you like, no, why didn't you do it? You didn't do that? It's like, well, why didn't you do it? I thought you were going to do it. It's like, well, I'm the CEO. Yeah. And I'm the COO. It's like, yeah, but you're the CEO, so you should be responsible for that. Well, no, you're the COO, and that's part of keeping the business running. You should be responsible for that. Question. The reality was that either one of them could have been responsible for it. Both of them were actually responsible for it. But not having those conversations about who was responsible for what, just about your title, left them in not a good situation. Another place where there's a lot of challenges is in misinformation or misunderstanding. And some of this is as benign as, oh, I thought you said something different. Like, I thought you said we're going, there are 4 levels. I can't even think of a good example right now. But some of them are really benign. Like, like a telephone number. I thought you said it was 463, not 462. Okay, cool. Some of them are malignant where they're lies, where there's like, oh, we don't have any lawsuits against us, except that you just got, it hadn't been filed, but it's coming. And so those are the types of things that when people show their representatives or try to make it seem better than it is, it creates some problems for you in the short and long term. So be very careful about that. And the other big piece is incompatible timeframes. I've seen entrepreneurs who are so desperate to get a partner, either because they need the money or they want the support, that they'll agree to damn near anything. They'll agree to, oh yeah, we could absolutely get it done. Honestly, sometimes I've seen them with clients. There is no real reason that you should believe that you can get it done in this many days, but because you don't want to lose the business, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. Yeah. Or you're trying to get the money invested in your business in the next 3 weeks, and they're talking the next 3 months. So sometimes, though, that's also one of the things that can be a challenge in putting together a good partnership. All right, we're clicking, we're clipping along, we're clipping along. The information that you're going to have to exchange with your business partner normally should be around these 6 topics. Financing, what type of terms do you want the deal? How much money do you need? How long do you need it? Those types of things. It is really important for you to think those types of things through, because that's going to be the nature of the agreement and the discussion that you have moving forward. Making sure you have your accountant and they have their accountants in when it comes to tax implications in their larger life, because tax and also tax and retirement as well, because a lot of people, when they are looking at their retirement packages, part of it should be stable and long term, part of it's going to be short term. But when you invest in a business, that changes your entire allocation, because that business investment is small cap. Normally it's small cap, high growth. So which means all of your other retirement accounts need to be balanced as well. And also you need to understand the tax implication, because there may be an opportunity for somebody to draw money out of their retirement account to invest in a business without a penalty because of some of the changes in the law. But it depends on what type of account. So again, making sure that you talk to somebody and really do understand the tax implications of what you're trying to do. Human resources are amazingly important. I cannot stress to you how important human resources are, because humans are normally how we do business. And so you may have a key person on your staff that everybody loves. And one of the reasons that they do business with the organization is because of that person. Hell, that might be you. Well, if you were running the business by yourself, it has to be you. But making sure that as you bring on a partner, as you are thinking about merging, recognize who's important. Because I've seen organizations that have a really important key employee, a new partner comes in, pisses that key employee off, and then the performance starts lacking and the business revenues start going down. I mean, it can get that serious. So making sure that you understand the human resources portfolio and human resources footprint for the organization is also very, very important. Legal stuff. If you have any lawsuits, if you have your contracts, all of these things, making sure that, and this just came up with one of my clients yesterday. Make sure that even when you're doing work with vendors and it's just a one-off, make sure that you have standard terms and conditions that are included in the invoice. Make sure they understand that, hey, when we pay you and when we agree to this, you agree that we will have mediation. You agree that if you are more than 30 days behind, that you will repay us, blah, blah, blah. Make sure you have that type of stuff in your contracts. And that's, again, why you need the lawyer as part of your bail team. Oh, insurance agent. I'm sorry. Listen, I noticed I'm sniffling a lot. I ran out of allergy meds a few days ago. So I just wanted to share that with you, because I realized that that's not cool. It's not cool. I thought about it after I did that last time, and I've been doing this for like 45 minutes. So my bad, folks. My bad. Sorry. All right. So insurance. Make sure you contact an insurance agent. Most people, when most business, small business owners I know, when they first start out, one of the places they try to save money on is insurance. And honestly, it's a good place to try to save money. But the thing is that it's a huge risk because you could save the $200-300 a month premium. Like think about your car insurance. You could save $200-400 a month in your car insurance premium. But what happens if you are in an accident? I tell people all the time, I hope you, whenever you get insurance, I hope you feel you get ripped off. Because if you feel you got ripped off, that means you paid the premiums of the insurance and nothing bad happened to make you want to get the insurance. So make sure you talk to insurance agents so they can help you prepare and get the insurance that's right for you, not just the most, but right. And check in with them every year because sometimes the laws change, which means you may need less insurance than you did last year. You may be able to get cheaper insurance than you did last year, but if you don't check in, you'll be. I remember, dang, what's a front? That happened to me one time. I had insurance on one of the business vehicles, and we had moved the office. Well, let me be honest. It wasn't necessarily that the office moved. It was our personal mailbox for the office moved. And they were like, oh, well, since you're here, and I didn't check anything because we didn't actually physically move. And I think I was talking to the insurance agent because I wanted to get some new insurance or something like that. And he said, oh, I see your address has changed. Let me see. Oh, that should be a little less. And I think it was like maybe, $20 a month, but $20 a month, that's $240 a year. So it was a really good thing just to talk to somebody and review it because you need to make sure that you're maximizing and not getting taken advantage of. And you have what you need. About your property. Property is what people are buying, like your assets, whether it's intellectual property, real property, or personal property. They are buying something from you. And making sure that you understand what they're buying from you helps you negotiate more effectively. You know the value that you're talking about. You don't have to think about it. You can be about it. So that's the type of stuff type of information that you need. You probably also need something good to eat, some really great fruit and some wonderful candy from Edible Arrangements. Whoop, whoop. All right, sorry. You know, I get excited. Y'all know how I do. I apologize to y'all, but I'm like, why? Because y'all been here before. Ooh, I don't like the way this slide did that whole consideration. That seems a little disrespectful. So these are some of the considerations that you all need to take into consideration. Some of these considerations when you're moving forward to buying. And again, you may need a lawyer. In most cases, hopefully when you're buying a business, it won't be a criminal lawyer you need. But if you do, J. Wendell Gordon, the Warrior Lawyer, is there for it. He's about that life. Understanding if they know the nature, operations, and market of the business, because sometimes people get in business because it sounds good, but they don't know anything about the business. 3 months in, they're like, well, why did this happen? Well, that's just part of the normal business cycle. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't want to be part of that. I didn't think that was going to happen. Yeah, those are the questions that you should ask. So making sure that they understand about the business. Understand what's being exchanged. Because especially some businesses in the beginning, they don't have anything. They don't have any actual assets. They don't have a lot of cash. So what you may be buying is the goodwill. What you may be selling is goodwill. What you may be selling is your customer list, and not just the list of names, because hell, anybody can find a name, but it's the fact that when you contact those people, they will do something. When you reach out to those people, when you tell them to buy something, they will buy it. That makes a lot of difference. What are the liabilities and who's taking those liabilities on? If you have, $100,000 worth of debt, well, somebody might want to be a partner in your business, but they might not want to take on that debt because they see the potential in revenue. So they may do a profit sharing. They may do a revenue sharing. They may do some of these other types of partnerships, but the liabilities may become a problem for them. And the more that you can think about this in advance, the more that you can position yourself to deal with it. Who has what rights? For example, if a person you're partnering with, if you're partnering with an individual and they pass away, God forbid, who takes their space? Is the ownership of the company part of their estate? Or is the ownership of the company something different? Does it revert back to you? Do you have to pay somebody else out? Understanding who has what rights and who has the responsibilities becomes very important. because you want to get as much of this stuff done and understood in advance so that you can plan for your business. You can make this stuff work. You can make it happen. So, this is a big one. What entities are involved? Because a lot of times, many of us show up as multiple different roles or having multiple hats. And so, are you all forming an LLC together or a corporation together? Are you all just sole proprietors who now have a partnership? Are you all joint venturing on a particular project, or are you joint venturing on a larger for undefined period of time? Are you all joining one person joining a business or another? Are you going to look like employees? What is going to happen? Understanding the entity involvement also helps clarify the tax implications and also clarifies any of the risk and regulatory issues that you may have as well. So yeah, make sure you know what that is. I've seen way too many people get that wrong. All right. You know what? It's one of those things like when you, because it's not, anyway, whatever. Consideration to additional consideration. Are there other regulations involved? If you are buying an assisted living facility or you're selling a piece of real estate to another landlord, well, there are regulations involved on when you can sell it, how you can sell it, whose approval you have to get, what that means for the tenant. And so if you are selling a cosmetology space, you need to make sure that that'll still be able to operate as a cosmetology space. So making sure that the licensing transfers, making sure that EIN tax identifications and those things in the transfer, that all of those things make sense. Making sure that if there are other parties that need to be involved, that you let them know. So for example, if the business already has a loan out there or already has debt, or already has other partners, you need to let those lenders or partners know that you're going to be bringing in somebody else because they're part of the business. Another thing when you take into consideration is that when you have a partner who has a particular ownership interest in your business, then when you are having conversations about financing, well, that's something else you're going to have to take into consideration. So most banks, most financial institutions in general, they have a rule that if you have more than 20% ownership in a company, then your financial records and your financial situation needs to be reported just like you are principal on the loan or principal on the financing. With government-backed instruments, I think it may even be 10%. So what that means is that if you have somebody you're bringing into the business, they have incredible skills and they have ownership interests, let's say 20%, because they're doing the majority of the work. Well, now when you get ready to get a loan or try to get financing for expansion, their personal credit history, their personal things are now part of that conversation because of the amount that they own in your company. And this is also why you should talk to your bail team, because your bail team can let you know how big a deal that other person's ownership interests are going to be. Let's see what else is going on. How long will the partnership last? A lot of times when we think about business, we think, happily ever after. We're going to keep doing this until it works. Well, be deliberate about that, because there's a different way of engaging in a partnership that you may keep for a year or two than one that you are having long term. Difference between the way you show up with somebody that you're dating and somebody that you're marrying. What will be the business relationship be between the parties be? That's a really interesting consideration, because sometimes we don't think about it well. We have this idea, this story in our head about what's going to happen. Are we going to do this? We're going to open this, without really kind of thinking through about what does the relationship look like? What has our relationship look like outside of this? How would that change? Do we actually have one family where it's the wife's business. She's the CEO and the husband's the CFO. However, they have more traditional family relationships. So they really, and it's so cute because they'll say, okay, this is some families. And he'll say like, oh, this is business stuff. You got to talk to her. I don't make those types of decisions. But when it comes to family stuff, it's exactly opposite, but finding out what works for you. How will the business relationship be impacted by other relationships? Oh, romantic. I've seen people who are in relationships together, decide to get into business, and ooh, it did not work out well. You know what? I'm just looking at the time right now, and there's a whole lot more to go. I did not even realize. See, I get into it, I start having fun. I'm having a great time. But we got some more to take care of. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna come back tomorrow. We're gonna do part two. Because I was looking about going into the next slide, and I realized, like, wow, if I went into that next slide, I'm gonna have to stop it in the middle of the slide. And who wants that? Don't nobody want that. That seems real whack, don't it? Let me see what else. Um, a couple things. Couple things that I do want to tell you guys about. Here we go. There we go. Black USA News is partnering with the Grinding Gang. Let me give you the whole screen. Yeah, Black USA News is partnering with the Grinding Gang to do workshops. This workshop is writing grants under $50,000. You can get more information from our site or visit this bit.ly link right here. That is the events page for the Grinding Gang. You can also just go to grindinggang.com and you'll be able to see it. Also, we're having a workshop on starting your nonprofit. That one is going to be on the 23rd at 1 p.m. And again, that same that same web address so that you can register. Each one of these is $25. This one's on the 23rd. Starting a nonprofit is on the 23rd. Grant writing, it was on the 23rd, but it's been moved to the 30th. I'm sorry. But just come on out and get some good information because we have a lot of organizations, a lot of businesses, a lot of programs that are doing the damn thing in the community, but they're not getting the money that they deserve. They're not getting the recognition and things that they deserve. And part of what we're going to do as Black USA News is make sure that we dig back in and provide the resources and support that our community needs so that they can be successful. I love my job. Like, come on. How is this amazing all of the time? Okay. All right. Okay. Stop. Let me get myself together. Yeah, I have had a great time, and we're going to do it again tomorrow, right? We're going to finish up on talking about partnerships and investors, what you should do. And then who knows what we'll talk about? Because I'm feeling a little spicy for Thursday. I'm feeling the spice build up. You know how you feel it's build. It's like, oh, tomorrow's gonna be a spicy day. Spicy. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, make sure that you check out Black USA News. We have 7-day-a-week programming from our beautiful show, Dear Black Girls, on Saturday at noon, from Shared Space Monday at 7 with Chap and Quita, with Donnie Glover's show, Troy Rollins at noon. Just so much great and quality programming on the network. I really want you all to see it all and be part of it. So yeah, tomorrow we're going to finish up with business and partners and investors and talk a little bit about what kind of programming and stuff we have planned for Black USA in the future. And I'm grateful for you all for showing through today, and we'll be black tomorrow.